Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video, which is going to be a library book haul. So I'm going to be honest, this wasn't the video that I was planning to share today. I actually filmed another video earlier today. However, when I went to move the files from my camera onto my laptop, they were corrupted. So that's great, but it's fine because instead I'm going to be sharing the books that I've got out of the library this month. So I just wanted to start by explaining why I love the library so much. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have noticed that I don't actually buy many physical books anymore. And there's a few reasons for this. The main one is space. So if you look behind me, I don't know if you've ever noticed my bookcase, but that is the extent of the space that I've got in my room to store books. I've actually got about 50 books up in my loft that have been there since I moved in about 7 years ago. So that's their home now, that's where they live. They're probably never going to come down until I actually move house. And so I try and limit the number of books that I actually buy physically because I just don't have the storage space. The other reason is cost, because it's obviously so much cheaper to borrow books from the library, and with the sheer amount of books that I read, it would cost me a lot if I was to buy all of those physically. Obviously my local library was closed for quite a few months while the UK was in lockdown because of the pandemic, but it reopened at the end of July, start of August, so obviously I can start borrowing again, which is great. What I prefer to do is reserve books online in advance if there's a particular book that I'm looking for. That way when I arrive at the library, all the reserved books are kept in a particular place, so I can just head there, grab the books that I've reserved and then head straight home. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling and let's get into the books. So the first book on my list is Caraval by Garber. From what I understand, this is the story of two sisters. So one of these sisters has always dreamed of going to the Caraval, which is a performance that happens every year on this remote, distant island. And finally, one year, she gets an invitation. So her and her sister go along, and as soon as they arrive, her sister is kidnapped. And it turns out that for this year's show, the competition is to find her sister, and whoever finds her is going to be crowned the winner. So I've seen this book pop up quite a lot on people's lists of really good beginner fantasy novels. However, I've never read it and I feel like I'm missing out. The next book that I borrowed is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. So again, I've seen this book pop up quite a lot in people's recommendations. From what I understand, it's a West African inspired young adult fantasy set in a world where magic has been suppressed by the king. However, a small group of people find that their magic has started to return to them, and so we follow our main character as she tries to restore magic to the kingdom that's been lost. This sounds exactly like the kind of book that I love. It's got magic, it's got adventure, and most of the reviews I've seen have been really positive, so I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into this one. The next book that I borrowed is The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. So this is actually the second book in the Raven Cycle series. I read the first book last month? Was it this month? I can't actually remember. So the first book is basically about a girl called Blue who comes from a family of psychics, although she's not actually psychic herself. And for her whole life she's been told that if she kisses her true love, then it will cause them to die. And for that reason she's always avoided boys, especially the Raven boys who go to the local private school. However, when she meets one of these Raven boys and his friends, she ends up getting caught up in their world and in this quest that they're trying to find something that's hidden in their town. I feel like I'm not explaining that very well, but it's basically a very slow-paced fantasy novel, very character-driven, and I think when I read it I was in the mood for something that had a little bit more action, and so I probably didn't enjoy it as much as I might have done if I'd read it at another time. So I wanted to give the second book a go just to see how it compares, see if I can find myself more invested in the story. If I don't love the series after this book, then I might give up on it, but we'll see. The next book that I borrowed is Muse of Nightmares by Laini. So this is the follow-on book to Strange the Dreamer, which I read earlier this year and absolutely loved. It's one of my favourite fantasy novels. What I will say is if you're new to the genre, then these probably aren't the books to begin with, because what I found is that Laini's writing is very flowery, it's very descriptive, and it's beautiful, but it took me a long time to get into it. So Strange the Dreamer basically follows a guy called Laszlo Strange, who for most of his childhood would listen to these stories about this mythical faraway city across the desert that 200 years ago just completely ceased communication with the outside world. One day the name of the city disappears within a split second from the minds of everyone and is replaced with the name Weep. And most people just carry on with their lives and they don't think anything of it, but for Laszlo he becomes quite obsessed with discovering what happened to this mythical city. So when I finished Strange the Dreamer I cried, and it took a lot of restraint not to go out straight away and buy the next book in the series, and so when I found this in the library I was so excited and I can't wait to read it, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to love it. The final book that I've borrowed is The Places I've Cried in Public by Holly Bourne. So I've actually read this book already. I read it a few weeks ago and I mentioned it in a vlog, which I'll see if I can link somewhere, but This basically tells the story of a girl called Amelie who has recently been through a breakup with her boyfriend Reese. She's really struggling to move on and accept what happens, and so to try and find closure she starts to revisit all of the places that he made her cry. And as she begins to reflect on the relationship, she realises that it was actually quite unhealthy and that he was quite emotionally abusive towards her. I'm not going to talk about this book too much because I did mention it in my blog the other week, but I think this is such an important book, and I think that it's essential for any teenager or young adult to read and understand what an emotionally abusive relationship looks like. There's quite a few trigger warnings for this book that I'll leave down below. I think Holly Bourne is a great author and I really want to read some more of her books. So there we have it. Those are the 5 books that I've borrowed from the library this month. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into them. If you've read any of the books that I've mentioned, then please leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of them and let me know which you think I should start with first, because I don't have a clue. If you enjoyed this video, then please do give it a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!